Welcome to version 3 of my review of the Coquette D10 cop car. So why has it taken me so long? Well, obviously this dropped when it was snowing, so I did the lap in the snow, and with it being a supercar, it really deserves to do a lap in the dry, but the lap in the snow was actually quite representative. So what I did a lap in this in the snow, then I've done another one in the dry. I've also done a new lap in the standard Coquette D10 in the dry, just so I can compare everything and make sure that the times are representative, and they are. There doesn't seem to be any difference in performance between this and the standard version. So I suppose that's another way of saying this is just as bad as the standard version. I don't actually dislike the Coquette D10. I think it's a nice looking car. I just don't like the handling. The handling is really spiky, and it has a little bit of downforce, but not as much as it makes you think it's got. So of all the cars I use, this is one that I find really can catch you out on corners, because you'll go into some of the corners thinking it's going to stick and it just won't. And then you factor that into the with the spiky front end, and you get something which in general is just not a brilliant. I don't know, it sits in the sports class, but it's kind of one of those halfway between a sports car and a supercar kind of things, and it's just not a very good supercar and not a very good lap. My god, I seem to have a target painted on me today. So what have I done with this car? Well, interestingly, that's what informs my view on this more than anything. So this being one of the cop cars, it's ridiculously expensive. I mean, this thing is over $5 million at full price. The trade price for this is actually quite easy to get. I believe it's just another one of the new dispatch missions for Vincent that you need to do. So you can get, this is one of the times that I would say it is worth getting the trade price, because the trade price on the cop cars saves you about $1 million on average. So if you are going to buy all of them, then there's easily, $7 or $8 million in total to be saved by getting the trade prices for them. So if you are collecting the cop cars, I would recommend getting the trade prices. And I don't say that often, because a lot of the trade prices aren't actually worth the effort. Quite a lot of the time you're better off just doing the work, because you can earn more money in the time it would take you to do what you've got to do to get the trade price. But for this car, it's easy, so you might as well. So, that said, it is still expensive, and it is the coolest of the cop cars, arguably. Now, the problem there is the other cop cars haven't set a particularly high bar. Now, I've managed to do some cool stuff with them. I've done most of mine like movie cars, but let's face it, when you're against the Impala SV and the SZ, and the Greenwood and the Dorado, it doesn't really take much to be cooler than those. And the only reason this is cooler is because it's kind of like a supercar cop car. And surely that's enough of a reason to buy it. Well, I would actually say no. And why would I say no? Well, some of you may have noticed from my livery that with the white and green, I'm trying to copy the way the Dubai police service have painted most of their supercars. Now, of all the police forces in the world, they've really gone to town in terms of buying supercars and flash cars for their general fleet. So, just in case you've never seen any of them, I've seen some of these in real life, and here's a terrible photo from the window of a taxi, but here are some better ones. So you want police supercars? How about a Lamborghini parked next to a Ferrari? Not super enough for you? Here's their Veyron. And it's not just the police that are doing it over there. This is one of a few Corvettes used by the Dubai Civil Defence, which is essentially the fire service over there. And it's not even just the fire service. The Dubai Corporation of Ambulance Services, essentially the Dubai Ambulance Service, has Corvettes, GTRs. Is that not enough for you? Well, here's their Lycan Hypersport. So, when it comes to supercars, there are better options out there, and it's not just Dubai that are doing it. How about an Italian police Lamborghini? Or a Japanese Nissan GTR? All of these are super cool cop cars from around the world. So, if Rockstar were to look away from the US for a little while and give us some international police liveries. Now, I know there have been a couple of US liveried Lamborghinis, but bear with me on the wider point. If Rockstar were to look away from the US and give us some international police liveries, and before you say it's set in the US, look, it's not a documentary. There are lots of other things in this game that aren't really all that true, you know, like flying bikes and flying cars, that kind of stuff. So I think an international police livery on a car in the US would be the least unrealistic thing in this game the way it is at the moment. But I just think there are so many cooler options out there, and that's why I would say you probably shouldn't buy the Coquette D10 cop car, because I think there will be better options. I think some of the Pegassis, maybe even some of the Trafades, may end up getting police liveries in a future update. And if and when they do, I think everyone, including myself, that bought the Coquette D10 cop car just because it was the closest thing you can get to a cop supercar, I think we'll all regret buying that. So, in my kind of backwards logic, that's why I'm saying don't bother. Even though it is the coolest cop car you can have at the moment, I don't think it'll keep that crown for very long. Now, I have a long and storied history with being wrong about many things. So obviously, it's perfectly reasonable if you want to say, do you know what, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm just going to buy it anyway. And if you want it, go for it. It is quite a cool thing. But I guess all I would say is, well, I don't want to say you were warned, because that's a bit, that sounds a bit harsh. But, you know, you were a little bit. For my money's worth, I'm going to say that within 6 months or so, some of the better supercars will get police liveries. It would be cool to see the Reaper get that red and blue livery from the Dubai Ambulance Service. That would actually make that car usable, because I can't. It's a car that I've got, and I can't really see any other reason to use it at the moment. So, that's a very long rant about liveries and not much talk about the car. It's like the normal Corvette. If you like the normal, Coquette. It's like the normal Coquette D10. If you like the Coquette D10, you'll like this. If you don't like the Coquette D10, you won't like this. But it is a pretty cool cop car. So, as we come to the end of this lap, let's have a look at what time this managed to put in. And there we go, that's the time it managed to do. And here's where it sits on my updated cop lap board. And just for transparency, here are the 3 times side by side. So you've got the dry cop time, you've got the snow cop time, and you've got the dry non-cop D10 time. I'm sure all that makes sense. So you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next one.